On March 7th, President Trump signed an executive order limiting eligibility for public service student loan forgiveness. While the president did not name specific organizations, he did cite so-called activist groups, as well as calling for stricter enforcement of on-time payments before forgiveness eligibility. This comes as President Biden's SAVE plan remains blocked by the courts, with millions of borrowers currently in forbearance as they await final decisions from the Supreme Court. And a new study from VantageScore found that there are 9 million borrowers who are currently behind on payments. That's over 40% of borrowers with payments due. Joining me now in studio is the author of the study, Rikard Bandebo, who is the VantageScore chief economist. Great to have you here, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. Delighted to be here again.
Let's dive into some of the findings here. How much could this impact students' credit scores as well?
So the impact is really twofold. One, on the borrowers themselves, and then secondly, on the population as a whole. So on the borrowers, what we're seeing is that they're going to see quite significant decreasing pressure on their scores. So for instance, someone who has a high score, let's say they have a VantageScore super prime score of like 800, they could see their score drop by as much as 129 points.
And so all of this in mind, some of the downstream effects of a lower credit score, how that could impact future home purchases, being able to access any type of capital. What are the kind of longer term ramifications of this?
So what's important to bear in mind is that a credit score is a bit like reputation. It takes a long time to build, but it can fall very quickly. And so a delinquency, like a student loan delinquency, will sit on the file for 7 years. So it takes a long time to repair this. And so the consequences of that is that you may no longer be eligible for certain types of products that you wanted to buy, whether you wanted to get that car and get an auto loan, or it may well put off a lot of people's ability to buy their first home. And so, but then as we look at the population as a whole, it has an impact on consumer health this year. And so that's also not negligible.
Did you find any positive signs among students who are likely to be current on payments?
Yes, so those students who have been making payments, which is the majority, they've seen their credit scores go up by, on about 8 points or so. Oh. So that's been very positive.
Nearly half of defaulting borrowers had either prime or near prime loans. What does that tell you?
Well, so student loan borrowers are often earlier on in their financial history, right? So they tend not to be as many of them in prime or super prime as you would have, see, somebody from Gen X or someone else. So this is definitely a phenomenon that's having a bigger impact on some of the younger generations, such as millennials and Gen Z.
And so as we're awaiting for SCOTUS's ruling on some of the existing plans that the previous administration had put forward, what are we seeing from now, the current Trump administration, that gives us a sense of how student loans will be approached over these next 4 years, or even programs for students who are looking for some type of debt relief?
I think it's still early days. I mean, what we're seeing now is that 9.2 million, those were people that were due to come in based on actions made by the previous administration. Now the SAVE program, there's another 8 million, roughly, student loan borrowers that fall into that 8 million. And so we're likely to see the impact of them later on. So probably in the second half of this year, we'll see even more delinquencies coming from those people who were in the SAVE program.
Are there ways that you can maintain and even build your credit score, even knowing that you might have to make that call into your student loan servicer and say, hey, I know I'm a little bit behind, but I want to make sure that this doesn't ding my credit score for a long period of time?
For sure. I mean, the best thing that a lot of borrowers can do is to get hold of their student loan servicers right now and try to intervene. Either A, make a payment, or B, see if they can negotiate some form of plan or something along those lines. Because still, the majority haven't yet been reported. So we started seeing them trickling in already, but it's going to take several months for all of this to cascade through onto the credit file. So for the most people out there, they still have a chance to do something about it.
Rikard, great to see you again. Thanks so much.
Great to see you.